Which Mortal Kombat character is pure of heart? In the eternal battle of dark versus light, which hero is most morally righteous? Many of you watching think it's Liu Kang, but you're wrong. What if I told you Liu Kang's not in the top 10? Oh yeah, now you're hooked. Keep watching to learn the truth, because I get the feeling most Mortal Kombat fans know more about the villains than the heroes, which is honestly understandable because look at these guys, they're just cooler than the heroes. Most players find them more interesting, and I get that, but it's why today's video will be so fascinating. Did you know Johnny Cage came down from heaven to help us in MK4? That's right, man left literal paradise to give Earth a chance, even if it meant dying again. But what about Jackie erasing herself from history to save her father? Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. What about Nightwolf making the ultimate sacrifice to save his friends? These heroes are incredible. It gets hardcore, man, I'm not joking. Did you know Blaze is basically Jesus? Alright, I'm done spoiling the video. You gotta keep watching to learn more. So comment your favorite Mortal Kombat hero down below, and remember that true heroes like the video and also subscribe. That way they never miss any future content. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's begin. Real quick everyone, I'm making this video on Thanksgiving Day and don't feel like doing a ton of editing. I'm still gonna speak from the heart and commentate with all my soul, but the editing itself, the video stuff might be a bit more minimal, which I hope you understand because it is Thanksgiving. Okay, here we go, ranking the morally righteous characters in Mortal Kombat, who's the most pure of heart. First up is the top tier Saints. These are the goodiest of good boys and good gals in Mortal Kombat. Liu Kang's not here, like mentioned earlier. Bam, there it is. These characters have never done a single bad thing in their entire existence, and oftentimes make the ultimate sacrifice. So yeah, in my eyes, these characters are saints. First up is Blaze, who's basically Jesus. This man was created to die for our sins and save the universe. I'm not even joking. He actually appears in the early Mortal Kombat games, then gets an actual story in Deadly Alliance and keeps going from there. Which is why it's unfortunate that most fans think Blaze is a monster or a villain, when he's actually not. He's the final boss, yes, but he's actually a good guy. Next up is Fujin. This guy is Raiden, but he's never done anything evil. Raiden actually has a couple of times. In both the Midway era and the Netherrealm timeline, Raiden's done some bad stuff. Fujin never has. He's always stayed righteous on the correct path, never doing anything wrong. Then we have Jackie. Listen, I've roasted this character for an entire video. She's boring, she's bland, a ripoff character with nothing original. All of which is true, I won't take it back, but this character still is a saint. She undoes her own existence to save her dad and undo his suffering, which is honestly above giving your life for somebody. She undoes her entire existence, all experiences are gone forever from the universe to save her dad and stop his suffering. But then we have Johnny Cage, who I teased at the start of this video. The man died in Mortal Kombat 3 to Motaro, but his soul never ascended because the realms were in flux. So this allowed Johnny Cage to go back into his own body and keep fighting, which inspired the heroes to battle even harder against Shao Kahn's invasion. Then afterwards, when the heroes win, Johnny Cage gets to ascend and go to heaven. But then in MK4, he demands to go back and stop Shinnok saving the day again. Not directly by beating Shinnok, but he does help the forces of light. After being in heaven, this man is a saint. It cannot be argued. Honestly, even Netherrealm's Johnny Cage is still a great guy, always doing the right thing. Real quick everyone, speaking of good guys, I'm giving you 20% off any Gamer Subs purchase. That's right, just use code UNDERDOG or click my link in the pinned comment, and any purchase you make is suddenly 20% off, but only for today. That's right, only 24 hours. In other words, it's a Black Friday sale, so check out Gamer Subs and buy yourself something great at an amazing discount. Don't forget, every purchase you make with my link or code UNDERDOG benefits this channel directly. Alright, and back to the video. Kitana, who doesn't get enough respect for never doing anything bad. She might not directly sacrifice herself or anything crazy like that, but still, Kitana's never done anything evil. Never. Not in the Midway era or the Netherrealm era, which I think is worthy of sainthood. She's possibly the most pure character in the sense that she's never done anything bad. But then we have Nightwolf, who's similar, only he sacrificed himself multiple times to save the day and help the heroes, so yeah, sainthood. Then finally at the end we have Sub-Zero, more specifically Kuai Liang, the younger brother who's never done anything wrong and is always a hero that rises to the occasion. And yeah, there's not much else to say. He's always a hero, he's always helping to save the day. He may never be the main character, but Kuai Liang is always righteous and pure. Alright, time for tier number 2, the pure hearts. These characters might sometimes stray from the path of light, but they always have good intentions, and let's be real, 99% of the time they are pure-hearted people. First up is Raiden. This guy does everything in his power to save Earthrealm. Even when going evil, he's still what I would consider a good guy helping the planet. Which is ironic because Midway tried really hard to make Dark Raiden seem evil and intimidating, but he's never actually evil. That's the funny part. Even at his darkest moment, Raiden's still a hero, so yeah, pure-hearted. Then we have Shujinko, who gave up his entire life serving the Elder Gods and helping humanity as a whole, all of the realms as a whole. Which is pretty crazy. This guy's not immortal like Raiden. He gave up all of his life to save the planet. The only reason he's not in Saint tier is because Armageddon's ending implies that with true power, he gets corrupted and becomes evil, which also happens again in Mortal Kombat 1. So without the right leadership, or if he just gets too powerful, Shujinko can become evil. So he's pure-hearted, but he's not a saint. Next up is Bo Raicho. This man trained Liu Kang and Kung Lao, also went against Outworld when they tried to invade. So yeah, he's pure-hearted. But get this, here's the crazy part. Shinnok was unable to kill him because the man is so pure. He tried and Bo Raicho survived because his heart is so pure. How wild is that? The only reason Bo Raicho's not in sainthood is because he never makes a crazy sacrifice or anything like that. Next up is Liu Kang. Here he is at number 11 on the list. So not top 10, but still better than most people on the good guy list. Every now and then Liu Kang does something bad. He strays from the light, but honestly, that's why I like his character, because the guy was raised to be perfect by the Shaolin monks called the Chosen One over and over again. So he was molded to be this perfect man, but he's still human. He can get angry, try to kill his mentor. In the NetherRealm games especially, Liu Kang has a tendency to go dark if you push him too far, which I think makes him relatable and just more interesting. And real quick, even Midway era Liu Kang, who's better in most ways, is still not a saint. After getting Blaze's powers, he kills Dark Raiden. That's his first go-to move, which many of you might say, well yeah, he's evil, gotta kill him. No, see, Johnny Cage never would have tried that. The idea never would have popped into his head. Same for everyone else in the Saints tier. They wouldn't have gone for the murder option. But Liu Kang did, even in the Midway era, which is the purest version of Liu Kang. So yeah, I'm sorry, but he's not in Saint tier. Then we have Kung Lao, who's basically Liu Kang, only a bit more degenerate, right? This man would sneak into a strip club, for example. I can just see him doing that, right? Constantly flirting with the women. Liu Kang is celibate, on the other hand. So Kung Lao is basically Liu Kang, but a bit more, you know. Then we have Kai, who might actually go in front of Liu Kang. He's only in 2 games, unfortunately, so not a lot to say about his story, but the man was so powerful and pure-hearted that Liu Kang wanted him to take over as protector of Earthrealm. And he got rejected because Kai didn't think he was worthy and wanted to do his own story first. So Kai's definitely a pure-hearted person, but we don't know enough about him to say sainthood. Alright, next up is the great man category. These people do fantastic things, but are never self-sacrificing or anything next level like that. So for example, Mocap. This man's amazing, what more needs to be said, but he's never jumped on the grenade, right? Then we have Jade, Jax, Taven, Stryker, Kenshi, all kind of the same person when it comes to their level of purity. They fight really hard for the good guys to defeat evil and save the day. However, all of them either flawed at one point or initially served an evil person and then got redeemed. They started off bad and then made themselves better, which is fantastic in its own right, but you can't call them saints or pure-hearted when they have some dark aspects of their story. Actually, Stryker might go in pure heart. Has he ever done anything bad? I don't think so. Anyways, next up is Good Man. So these characters are good. Like, full stop. They might not sacrifice themselves or anything next level like that, but they're still good people. You want them on your side. Characters like Takeda, Cassie Cage, Sindel, Kung Jin, Serena, characters who redeemed themselves, right? Kung Jin and Sindel especially, right? They were never evil, but they made some big mistakes and then came back to redeem themselves. Serena too, she went against Quan Chi and helped Sub-Zero. I wish we had more games with Serena to know more about her and see her do more stuff. But unfortunately, she's only in 2 games. Next up is Cyrax and Smoke. So Smoke obviously is a good person. There's not a lot to his story, but he is good. Cyrax though is a tricky one. I may actually want to move him up to Great Man or Pure Heart, because every time this man goes against the Cyber Initiative, which is commendable, absolutely. However, he was an assassin before that and didn't have a change of heart until becoming cyberized. You know what I mean? He had to suffer first before understanding, whoa, I'm a bad person, I gotta turn this ship around. Which is why maybe he does belong in this tier. Sindel's getting moved up to Great Man though, and I think so is Serena. Yeah, because going against Shinnok and Quan Chi is terrifying. They're really powerful and the most evil characters in Mortal Kombat fiction, so the fact Serena went against them is pretty hardcore. Alright, but now finally in the bottom tier we have flawed but mostly good. These characters want to do the right thing, but every now and then stray and sin a little bit. They got that dog in them, right? They're a little bit dark, but still mostly light. So for example, Ashura, she wanted so badly to do the right thing that she got tricked and deluded into doing a terrible thing. Which you might argue, oh, she got tricked, but here's the thing, a good person would never think that genocide was the answer, and Ashura did. Next up is Goro, who's a bland villain in the Netherrealm era, but in the Midway timeline, he actually joins the heroes for a short bit and is always serving the interests of his people, which I would argue is mostly good. The problem is Goro follows villains sometimes because he thinks they're better at getting his goal, and that's never the right thing to do. Even if it serves your people more, it's still not right to make other groups of people suffer by joining the bad guys. Don't do that. Then we have Sonya, who actually I'm gonna move up in the good man row right behind Cyrax because that makes more sense to me. She's got anger issues, that's the only real problem, which gets in the way of the mission sometimes. Sonya almost screwed over everybody by trying to kill Kano, and if not for Johnny Cage, she would have, and everybody would have been in a bad spot. So yeah, then on top of that, she barely raised Cassie Cage. That's implied in Mortal Kombat X. She cared more about her job than her family, which is not good. Next up is Cabal. This man used to be a criminal with the Black Dragons, then redeemed himself and became an officer of the law, which is already a step in the right direction. Then after getting badly burned, he became this sort of anti-hero. So still good, but no longer a police officer. So interesting story with this guy. I'd say he's mostly good, but has some dark tendencies. In fact, in the Midway era, he rejoins the Black Dragons and just becomes a bad guy again. So maybe he shouldn't be on this list. But alright, next up is Scorpion. This guy just wants to avenge his family and clan and also redeem them, possibly bring them back to life. That's his entire purpose, which unfortunately does lead him down the wrong path every now and then, but sometimes he just gets tricked by the Elder Gods even, right? The goodest of good people, the beings responsible for all life and creation. Yeah, they trick him. He gets duped by them, so why would you not be angry? How could you not be furious like Scorpion is? I guess you could argue characters in this top row would still never be bad, even if those terrible situations befell them. Next up is Kotal. I think this man wants to be a good and honest ruler. The problem is his clan of people have an oppressive culture in general. It's how they do things, but Kotal seems better than them for the most part. Yes, he did try to kill all the Tarkatans, but also they are demon mutant people who are almost always bad, so even then Kotal Khan seems like he's mostly justified. Cetrion. I included this woman because I know you all wanted me to. She is technically all light and good and virtue. However, her mother is Kronika, responsible for all time and resetting reality itself. She makes Cetrion evil, according to all of you in the comments, which is mostly true. However, I would argue that if Cetrion was actually a good person, she would give up against Liu Kang, but she never does. Yes, she never fully commits to the fight. Liu Kang himself even says that your heart's not in this fight because you know you're in the wrong, so that's something. However, when Kronika says, yo, Cetrion, just give me your energy and I'll fight Liu Kang, she doesn't say no, which is why she's in this bottom tier. She is mostly good, maybe, but she's heavily flawed. And alright everyone, there you have it, the tier list for every good character in Mortal Kombat, ranked from saint to pure-hearted, great man, good man, or flawed but mostly good. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below. It helps the channel out a ton. Then finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.